Well, let me first start also by welcoming everyone here today in the room. And we also have thousands of women who are watching around the world, who are watching at client sites, candidates who are watching to see what Accenture is about. And so I also want to welcome them. I want to start by recognizing our CEO, Pierre Nanterme. So first of all, I learned something new today. We used a special technology called a hollow gauze, which is different than a hologram because it's pre-recorded. It's a pre-recorded hologram. Hopefully you saw the passion that Pierre has. And he has been an incredible leader around diversity because he truly believes that to be the innovation-led company that we want to be, we need to have diversity. And even more importantly, he believes that to be the kind of company that people want to work at, the way they want to build and spend their careers, we need the richness that comes with diversity. And we feel very privileged at Accenture to have Pierre as a leader. I want to recognize a very special guest today who is with us, who was one of the pioneers of diversity and progressing women. And if you could recognize our former CFO, Pam Craig. I joined Accenture almost 7 years ago, and when I interviewed, I met Pam, and Pam was CFO, incredibly successful, had 2 children, and I thought to myself, I can come to Accenture and I can be successful. And today is about making sure that we have many, many women who are at the top, who are leading, right? To make sure that the next generations also believe that they can have whatever choice in life they want, with children, without children, an active, enriched life, and they can be successful. I start, though, that today is about a celebration. And what really excites me about International Women's Day is that we bring together today's leaders, the next generation of leaders, and also the leaders of the day after tomorrow. Because you will hear from students. We know we have students watching, and we have students and daughters in the audience. And we are here to celebrate the progress that we've made and the incredible accomplishments of women around the world. And we've been doing this for 13 years. We hold 300 events around the world. But today is also about action. And you heard Pierre talk about the need to lead in the new and the opportunities ahead. And we want to make sure that we're contributing by bringing all of us together so that next year we're celebrating more progress. And our agenda today around leading in the new is inspired by the fact that what we are seeing in the market, what we're helping our clients do, the way to be successful is around innovation. The most successful companies are those who are continuously innovating, that are those that are taking advantage of the new technologies, the new business models. And that is where we see how we can progress as leaders to aspire to leadership is by ourselves making sure that we're leading in the new. And that was the inspiration for today's theme. We also released research this week that was about action. It was about looking forward and seeing what's happening for women with respect to advancement and participation in the workforce. And the way to look at that is, where are we today and how fast can we solve the gender pay gap? And so I'm going to ask Harris Faulkner to join me on stage. She is an award-winning broadcaster and the co-host of Outnumbered. Thank you. So Harris and I both have 4th grade daughters.
Yes.
And I have a 3rd grader and Harris has a 2nd grader. And we're very excited about what we're going to talk about with the research we did this year. And so we looked at the gender pay gap, and Harris is going to help us bring that alive.
Yeah. So you just heard Julie talking about the other women in our households, which I don't know about you, but I'm certainly not listened to. They are the queen bees in my household. And you know why that's important, especially with this audience, is because by 2020, we hope to change this dynamic that we're all going to take a look at actively, where we close that gap. And that means that when our fourth graders, and particularly our third and second graders, grow up and enter their careers, not only will the gap be closed, because we're not going to settle for less, it'll be in the rearview mirror. 2020 is just 3 years from now, so my kids will still be kids, right? But by the time they get into the workforce, things will have changed dramatically.
We did research and we said, if you look at this pay gap today, and you are a young woman graduating in 2020, so the women in college today, when would that pay gap close? Now, one interesting side note, when we asked young women in college today, 84% of them said they didn't think there was a pay gap or it would be closing in 20 years. The reality is, in developed markets, the pay gap would not close until the young women graduating in 2020 are 81.
Wow.
81. And so we wanted to look at how could we close the pay gap in the lifetimes of the graduates of 2020. And we found that there are 3 factors that can close it. Digital fluency. That is simply the ability to use devices easily, to do online banking, to connect. That gives, especially in developing countries, women access to work. Tech immersion, which is women taking courses and using those skills at work. And when we looked at fast-tracked women, 41% of them have taken courses and use the skills from computer courses and STEM or other technology courses in their jobs. But the third factor, which in some ways may be the most surprising, is that of career strategy. In developed markets, this is the biggest impact we can make to close the pay gap. And that is women starting in undergrad and then in their career having different strategies around how to build their career. And the factors we saw included working at a large company versus a small company because they pay better. And when we looked at fast-tracked women, 74% took advantage of flex time or compressed weeks, which means selecting companies that offer those kinds of benefits. Women there advanced faster than in companies without those benefits. It's about aspiring to leadership. We found that in undergrads, women aspired to be leaders much less than men. They also picked careers with high earning potential much less than men. And so we believe when you have something in some ways as simple as a career strategy, that coming together as companies, governments, and academic institutions, we can really change the trajectory. Now, I know, Harris, that the career strategy part of this really spoke to you, and maybe you can share why.
So at Fox News, I do a lot of work with our internship program, our junior reporters, people who are apprenticing in the business, wanting to learn all the different facets. And almost to a person, among many of them, but particularly the young women, is a lack of something that I grew up in my household as a basic, and it's mission sense. It's that idea that you know where you're going and you're going to figure out how to get there, and it's not going to be an accident because you have an actual strategy. I was raised as a colonel's daughter, born on a military base. My whole life, my mom would say, what is your plan for today? What is your plan for the week? What are your goals, short-term and long-term? Like, I was 7. How do you spell goal? But you know what? It stuck with me because we were in a household with one of the first African-American, my dad, colonels to fly. I mean, he was a fighter pilot. He was a combat pilot. He came from a little chicken farm in East Texas. He did things that other people couldn't do. It was amazing because he had a strategy. And he wanted that for his children, and both of his kids were girls. Look at my first name. They wanted a boy, people. So badly. I got a really tall woman instead. It cannot be by accident. And oh, by the way, if you're waiting for the world to choose what your strategy is going to be, it won't make you a winner because that's not the world's goal. Plain and simple. So if I'm still seeing it after being in television news for more than 20 years, I started when I was 4, no, then it's not only getting worse, it's now spreading as the norm for both men and women. Men don't anticipate that we'll have a strategy, so they don't ask us what ours is. I do get asked the question, what do you want? And if you can't answer it in a split second, then I guess you're somebody who doesn't want it enough, is what we're treated like in the workplace oftentimes. So this one really stood out because I can go look at how many phones I brought for just today. One of them has my picture on it, so I don't accidentally text my husband. That's my work phone. But so, I mean, digitally, I think we can get there. Technologically, I think we can get there. We can do it in short order. But this idea of strategizing means that you have to know people like Julie Sweet as one of your mentors and your heroes. How did she get there? How blessed are we today that we get to find out the answers and make that part of our mission and our changing those cards and that schematic that we just saw. Very blessed.
So let's see what we can do together to change the pay gap.